If you are looking for a deeper understanding of yourself and the universe, you've been drawn to the right place. Well, welcome back, everyone, for another episode of Sacred Science. I know that Nirmala has something exciting to kick off things with, so I'm going to jump straight to her to talk about today's topic.
Welcome, everyone. So today, yesterday I was just mentioning to Daniel that a geometry that came in front of me, and I felt like the discussion has to be based on that with whatever movements is happening around Earth at this moment. So, even with the human experience that's going through right now, I think it's going to explain a lot about it. So, I'm going to straight jump into it as usual.
She's surprising me today. I don't even know what's on the board. So I'm excited.
Of course, yeah, I'm not shadowing the window, am I? No, I'm not. Okay. Okay, so as y'all can see, okay. I wanted to draw the harmony of the geometry that I always kind of look for when I'm looking at someone. Yeah. So just imagine, like, I've got the octahedron, which is a circle around it, and then I've got the hexahedron, which is the square that's going and touching the points, and then I got it's also a hexahedron, but actually it's a tetrahedron. You know, remember I always tell you that all the geometries are kind of interlinked. Like, it's like we are very geometrical human beings, so every geometry is within the geometry itself. Yeah. So the hexahedron that's kind of in a diagonal is also tetrahedron. Now, and then you're seeing another octahedron inside and another one within it. And then in the middle, where in between, I kind of created a wheel. And this is the wheel that keeps moving, right? There's I mean, my drawing is not fantastic, but what I've done inside is the diamond. Just like, you know, how we create diamond. So that diamond is in here. So this is the actual print that I always look for when someone comes to me. Now, how do I identify that what is not connecting? Just imagine you can see this part of this hexahedron or this tetrahedron. Just imagine this tetrahedron is not attached but floating. That means float. You can see the whole geometry, but this particular one is floating outside. That means it's not connecting. Immediate, isn't it? So when I see something like that, I already know that the energy that's flowing is being interrupted. Either the person is struggling physically, mentally, or emotionally. All right. So the connection is not fitting in. Yeah. With a beautiful geometry like that, I want to see where I put cross. I want the points to be connected. That means there's a connection between everything. That means this person is connected from the physical body of consciousness to the vital body of consciousness, to the mental body of consciousness, to the supramental or the etheric body of consciousness, to the spiritual body of consciousness. So when they're, you know, that connection has to be all together so that they can have this beautiful diamond experience they came here for the human experience. All right. So somehow the flow went in yesterday while I was trying to tap to the audience. So today's audience has got a few questions here. All right. So that's the reason this has came up. Normally, you know, every time I go by the resonance or by the interpretations of what is the view is going to be, yesterday night, this is what came up. Okay, so this is what I've done. I'm just going to quickly explain to you what are these geometries all about. When you're looking at the octahedron, all right, so in the normal human term, we call it as a circle, octahedron. Octahedron is all about the cycle of life, eternity. We are trying to integrate ourselves to unity and completeness, right? So that's what octahedron is all about, unity and completeness. Okay, so we are coming through this cycle of life to understand, so that we understand and unfold every geometry within to go to the center, to go within us, to understand what's exactly happening within us, to complete ourselves. Yeah. Now, as you can see, the hexahedron, the square that you see. When you see a hexahedron is all about grounding. Daniel, you're completely aware of that. Hexahedron is all about grounding. Yeah, we have spoke about it a lot. So when you're seeing that, this is how the world is created. This is how the universe is created. We are abide by the law of it. We cannot step out and say, no, I'm not going to go abide and I'm going to do something differently. And what happens? You know, you're not going to go through this the experience, the human experience you came here for. You have to abide by the law of the universal law. Yeah. So the hexahedron always holds and grounds you in that space for you to understand that. It's like solidifying, it's like a solid understanding of it, right? What is created in this universe and what is created in this world. And also the hexahedron is the space I always tell everyone, it's a space of breathing, right? What happens if you stop breathing? What happens? It means you're no longer existing, yeah? So you're no longer existing in this human form anymore. So, it's about pause and then breathing. So every time when you go into your breath and you're breathing, the hexahedron is the one that is giving you that sequence, that alignment within you, because the breath, following your breath and understanding your breathing and being conscious of your breath is like you are grounding yourself. You're understanding yourself, right? Anyone is having anxiety, panic attacks and all that, stop everything, pause. Focus on the hexahedron. Go into a breathing space. Breathe as if you're holding a hexahedron in your hand. See how you feel. You feel a complete rise in your vibration. You feel the change within you. Yeah. So that's the hexahedron. All right. So hexahedron is here to teach us about the duality that we are in. Not to say that there is duality and there's two different things. It's actually the union of the duality that is one. Okay, understanding the duality is there to make us one. Yeah. So just like the body soul, male and female is one. We humans, we separate. We saying that's a male, this is a female, but male and female is one, right? That's another interesting topic when you really go into geometry of your vital organs or your organs in your body. You'll understand how everything's inverted. Once it's inverted, it's male. Once it's upright, it's female. Yeah, that's a completely different topic. So male and female. So I've explained about the octahedron. I've explained about the hexahedron. Now I'm going to go to the tetrahedron. All right, the tetrahedron. Every point has to be touching each other to understand the consciousness, right? So in the tetrahedron, the energy flowing is mainly in physical body of consciousness. All right, the tetrahedron help us to have the energy, the yin and yin, to completely in the flow in our physical body of consciousness. And it also represents the Trinity, right? Human, universe, and the spirit, earth, sea, and sky. We cannot be without that. We cannot ignore and say that we are only human is existing, not the universe and not the spirit. We cannot say only earth is existing, no sea and sky. All right. So the tetrahedron is a reminder of that. That is what it symbolizes. So on overall, when you're looking at it, everything begins and ends within the cycle. Okay. So everything begins and ends within the center. So the minute you understand this and you go deeper and deeper and deeper and you go into the point, all right, this is where the beginning is and this is where the ending is. Okay. We can also call this as a transition. Yeah, understanding yourself as in big capital S self. So all the 8 points in hexahedron touches, and the tetrahedron touches the octahedron. It means you are expressing within yourself, and then you're releasing yourself from the prison of time. Okay, so no longer you are a prison of time. You are completely dissolving the wall of time here. Okay, so I just wanted to bring this topic here. I mean, sorry, not the topic, the information about what I exactly see. So you can see that when somebody come in front of me and one part of this is missing, it's an immediate notification the wheel is not moving because something is not connecting to something. And that's my work. That's what I do with everyone who's coming. Now, Daniel, you would have questions for me now.
Yes.
Let's start with that.
So I see why you didn't give me a preface here and just jumped right in. I had no idea. I just want to first off say, like, so when you see every person, this is the way you explain that to me is like, that's the divine blueprint. Like, this is how every being comes into this world, is with a blueprint that looks like this.
Oh, no, not exactly a blueprint. Okay, so geometry comes in three levels, right? So not 3 levels, in 3 designs, right? So this design can change anytime. This is one part of their personality or one part of their origin that I can use to find them. So as I said, that the interpretation that I'm showing here, you would have seen this as a pendant somewhere, or you would have seen some sort of tradition using this as a mandala for their practice. But what I'm saying is that it could change, it could be different, but this is how sometimes I identify by looking at it. So as you know, I see so many symbols comes in front of me, so many shapes and colors come. This is one of it.
Okay, yeah. And that cores and everyone. So then the next thing that came to me was when you said, okay, so like that detaches. And the first thing that came to my mind was, well, of course, we have this like divine way that we are, and then the ego gets in the way. I have to imagine that our minds as humans, that ego mind of ours, is part of the reason that these things detach. Can you kind of explain how the ego impacts all of this?
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful question. Yeah. Very good question, because that's where all this get interrupted, isn't it? Sometimes we are in the center and we think we are in the center, and something comes along and stops everything, and we just think, what has just happened? You know, what have I done wrong? So just to explain briefly, ego, as far as what we know about ego is the seed of the mind. Yeah. So ego is the one that seeds the mind to think or to interpret, to express in different ways. Yeah. So I always say the word, as you think, you become. Yeah. So now the ego take through the mental body of consciousness, and they're taking some information from the environment or the society, and then there is pushing it to you, saying that whether you are either it creates a space, the ego creates a space where you have an inferior complexity, or you got a superior complexity. Yeah. So it creates that. Yeah. Yeah. I'm saying just come, slowly bring it back to that. You know, it's not that difficult, you know. So whenever you are in communication with your mind, just step back and try to understand. So ego is the main concern here, because that's the one that can interrupt everything, isn't it? You know, you just nailed it, Danielle. So let me explain a little bit about ego as well. You know, it's got a switch on light and switch off light as well. And it's actually, you can control, you can understand, and you can identify it if you really go into within and completely understand yourself, understand and kind of go into the higher vibration of yourself. So when I say it's all through practice, through meditation, through understanding, through kindness, through compassion, you can do all that. So you feed the light in your heart with love, and everything, all the divine exchange will start happening. Yeah. Like example, you've seen somebody who was very highly qualified, very highly educated in the worldly education system, right? So, you know, and someone sitting in that position, you know, if they put kindness and compassion and try to educate or kind of understand others, you know, it will be beautiful. But in some cases, what happens is because of that knowledge, identifying, they got all these big bars and, you know, certificates and diplomas and degrees and everything. You can see the whole wall attached to that. And if they don't understand and they don't go into the center of themselves, what they do, they think that they're too intelligent, they start interrupting other lives. They start interrupting the human mind from their base of consciousness. Because their base of consciousness is not to teach others. Their base of consciousness can be interrupted and diverted without their knowing, because of their ego, by controlling instead of educating others. So they want to sit, that means no matter what they're going to teach others, they want to sit and say that, but I am higher. You have to stay there. So I'll be the teacher. Yeah. So this is how the ego is usually angled, right? Somebody who's highly qualified, having education and experience, who can't even understand that they have to come to the balance and then let go of the control. They don't learn how to let go of the control. They don't know how to be kindness and compassion. They interrupt the whole system. No matter how much certificates or education they have, I don't think they're going to lead away. They're going to be very upset with their own life. They will have a lot of regrets. So that's one portion of the ego. Now, before I go a bit more further with the ego, do you have any questions, Daniel?
Yeah, you said something. You said that we have the ability to switch on and off the ego, and I want you to go deeper in that because I feel like the ego is the seed of so many problems. So when you say that, what do you mean? How do we switch it off, and why would we want it switched on if it's causing, you know, a little bit of mayhem?
Okay, that is practice, right? So it's like you switch on the light and you keep the light glowing, right? So you keep the light glowing within you. Yeah. So when the light is glowing within you, you can see it in your physical form, you can see it in your vital form, you can see it in your spiritual form, right? You can see a lot of energy gets attracted to you. You don't have to please, you don't have to buy them to get attracted to you. Okay. So you become the light energy. So to become a light energy, of course, from my terms, is understanding who you really are, going to your inner self, meditation. You know, any form of meditation that you can do on a regular basis, you bring yourself into that alignment. You know, you can be tired, you can be exhausted, your mindset is not there. Try, there's so many types of meditation. Yeah. Walking meditation where you can plug a beautiful music and then you just walk completely resonating with the sound, which is a geometrical sequence that start aligning you know. If you keep doing that, you go into that oneness, you try to expand your heart, you want to love everything that you see, you want people to love you, and you start loving everything. That means you are coming into a balanced state where you are trying to say that you are no other than the other. Okay, so in other words, it's like you have to keep this light glowing inside you.
Beautiful. Okay, that makes sense. It's like moving from the head to the heart. You know, this might seem so basic, but I didn't know why some traditions bow. And they bow because they say you need to keep the head below the heart, meaning like get rid of the ego mind and come to the heart center. So that visual is what came to when you were just sharing what you shared.
Oh, it's beautiful cultures and systems that I know some are kind of ruined by mankind, but the thing is that the cultures came in for the reason, the belief system came in for the reason.
Yeah,
to go beyond yourself, to bow to everything that's in front of you. How many cultures does that?
Yeah.
You know, and even putting the hands together in different cultures, they do it differently. But when you put your hands together, what are you doing? You're bringing your left and your right to the center. And what is connecting to your center? Your heart.
Oh, I had no idea. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, so you're putting everything together in that space. And there's some cultures that just bow, you know, that means they're completely bending themselves. That means, you know, they're not bending and they bow to you because they want to go lower than you. No, they're showing that we are balanced, we are collective consciousness together. You know, and in some cultures, I know they still have, especially in the eastern side of the world, we do understand when they always see elders or older people, they know, they don't know, they bow, they go and touch their feet.
Right.
Have you ever seen that? They expand themselves and touch their feet. That means when they touch their feet, they're touching Mother Earth because they have existed in this earth for that long period of time.
I see.
They experience the energy that they're holding. So they bend up, they bow, and they touch their feet. At the same time, you know, there's an exchange that happens within that period of time. Yeah. They can actually, when you bow to elders who has been in this lifetime for a very long time, they've been through a lot of experience, what actually happens is that they are able to actually remove part of your struggle energetically when you bow to them.
Okay, so this is so interesting. When I first came to the Amrit Yoga Institute, and I went through a training, the Yoga Nidra guided meditation training. And the guru that's on site here, Guru Dev, he was in his 80s at the time. Our teacher said at our last day at our graduation, you're going to get to bow at the feet of the guru and you can release something. And I thought, okay. And I remember thinking like, wow, if this, and I didn't understand what you just said about how much energetically can actually be released. But what popped into my head was release fear, ask him to take your fear. And every single time that I get into that fear state, I always think, no, he's holding that for me. He's holding that for me. And it's like, it's been profound. It's been 7 years. And you just kind of brought it full circle as to what actually was happening in that ceremony. And that's incredible.
It's beautiful. You're going into a tea space where you're going to unity when you go in bow. As I said, you're touching earth when you touch somebody's feet. You're touching Mother Earth. She responds at the same time through that person. So you're letting go. They're helping you to let go of something that you're holding that you can't hold anymore. That's the reason they call it blessings. Go and get blessings from the elders. Why do they always say that? You know, this is a reason, because they have walked in this earth for a very long period of time. They went through the experiences. The minute you bow to them, you know, they're able to completely, especially those negative energy that's holding you. So able to kind of go away from you. They release it. You know, it's a beautiful, when you really look at culture, the way it's imprinted, the way it's described, if you really go into details of it, it's amazing to understand why and how they're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, the knowledge that, I mean, existed, it kind of makes me sad to think we've lost some of it and like don't understand. I mean, the fact that I'm only learning now, even having been through one of these customs, what it's actually all about. Setting light on it.
And I know it's lost. I know that a lot of things has been lost, but it's never too late to recapture it back again. It's never too late. Yeah, and understanding it. Yeah. Now coming back to the space of ego and how all this interrupts the our contentment, I find that this is our solidness, right? And how that could move the greed away from what, and the minute the greed moves away, the way I can see it is the tetrahedron will join the hexahedron, and then they go in a swirl. Sometimes they go in a rotating swirl. It's like a huge communication. Stop me right now. Things are going worse. You know, and even though the topic of the session or the client come in for a specific thing, I completely change the topic because I need to stop the spin, right? So I have to stop the spin because something else is happening, but they're focusing as right now, whatever that's happening is the problem. No, something else has happened and that has moved forward and now spinning the wheel. Yeah. In such a situation and condition, what happens is that I totally will ask them to remove themselves from the scenario completely, or from the person or the family or the organization completely, to stop the spin. Because if they don't do that there and then, what would happen is that they are being, it's like anybody can go in and say, okay, so it's easy to now put my blame on someone or run away and, run away, or I can completely hide myself within this person, and you become a best person because this is spinning, right? So this is what happens when your octahedron or hexahedron is not in concrete position, and it can be tilted, it's fine, but when it's spinning, I always say move away from wherever you are right now. This is not going to help. It's not going to help. Take your time, and then you can see by going back once you have your strength in it, but move away, because most of the time in sessions that I've seen this in few scenarios is that they either got stuck with a family that they don't want to, that has got some issues, and then they become, even though they were not part of it, they start using them so they can remove their flaws out of it. That means they wouldn't be center of attraction, easy to push it to them. And they will be in the spin, not understanding, how am I going to remove myself? How am I going to get out of this? And then another person comes in, oh, easy, somebody's already said about this. Now I can just go and put another tag on them, easy done, and they were always rotating on that spin. So the best way to deal with it is, because these individuals are coming through that they like their place where they are. They like the trauma, they like what they're doing, right? So, and they don't like to face the truth. So it's okay, it's their journey. Just remove yourself away from that as far as you can. Yeah. And most of the time when I see something like that, the first question I ask, you have constant migraine, you got stomach upset, bloating issues, and all related to this geometry misalignment. All right. So for me, I know what you're going to ask. So how do you see it? Like, so a lot of people ask me the question, right? So I don't know. The geometry is in communication with me. So this is how they're describing the situation that's happening. And I'm so used to seeing it, identifying it in different manner. By looking at it, immediately I know this is the situation. So it's very difficult to describe, how I'm seeing it. It's just that the minute it happens, I know this is the story. Nobody has told me the story. That's the story. Just remove yourself. Have some clarity in your life. Find out what you want. Be within yourself. Go to the center and hold your space. The minute you do that, you are away from whatever that was happening. That means that part of that life never existing again. Don't walk into it again. Not necessary. Yeah. Yeah. So, and always remember, in the ego state of mind, your mind is the speech. Okay, so your mind is the speech, and the thought is the word. So be mindful when you're going through in that kind of spin, that whatever you're saying, whatever you're doing is not coming through you, but it's walking through your ego, and that's why you are projecting in that way. So they had ego, they helped you now to come in recognition with your ego, and what do you do? That starts happening. Yeah. So don't allow yourself. Always be conscious. Step back, think about it, look at it. Is this where you want to be? If you don't, pull yourself out completely. Allow it. It's okay where they want to be. Always question yourself.
Yeah, you give the best advice for situations and dealing with external environment and boundaries, right? Making sure that you're very clear on that so that you can stay in your center.
Yeah. And the control of speech is something that's very important with our mind. Always understand what you're talking, what is coming out, what is sleeping out. Whether if you thought about it before saying it. Always practice what you're going to say in your mind first before you say it. Say it out in your mind twice and then say it. Right? So then it becomes a good practice as well. When you keep doing that, you're always going back to the center. You're going to the center to completely keep yourself in harmony so that you can keep the whole everything in harmony.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, I know there's going to be a lot of questions from the audience. I'm very sure in regards to this, especially with families and all that, and looking at geometries and all that. But the geometry is there is a design of you. It's there to tell you what's exactly is happening. Yeah, it's going to tell you what's going to exactly happening. But sometimes you can't make a choice. You don't know where you're going, whether you're right or wrong. Doesn't matter. Pull yourself out. Go to a beautiful, whatever you have in your country, a place where it's completely surrounded by nature. If you can enter a forest, fantastic. Just go and completely go into the space, sit there and just resonate with that nature. Don't think of anything else. You don't have to worry about anybody, anything. You don't have to worry about the world, nothing. Just go into that zero space that you are holding yourself. This is just you and you are holding yourself. Yeah. And then give yourself a bit of time, come back, and then repeat that again. Sometimes you cannot meditate in the space you're sitting. A lot of people do tell me that I cannot meditate in the house I am, in my bedroom. I cannot, for some reason, right? Get out of the space. It's already telling you. Your geometry is already in communication with you. It's telling you, you need to get out. You need to get out and try a space somewhere where you can resonate with it. Take your time, hold the space, and understand yourself. Bring yourself back after that. See the difference. Without trying, you're never going to understand anything. There's no point complaining and sitting in the same place and then going in a cycle, turning whichever side you're turning, you're seeing a brick wall. It's because you have created that for yourself.
Yeah. Nature's an incredible reset. I didn't realize, I don't see the geometry of it, but I feel it. That's why I start every morning. I try and start my day in nature because my body feels centered and like in a nice flow. You said something that I want to ask, like a clarifying question, I guess. You said your geometry is in communication with you, so you need to listen. Is that like your intuition? Like, is that how I would hear it? Is that what you mean?
So your geometry is the communication, because some, like me, I can only say things in geometry because that's very clear language for me. Yeah, it's better than human language for me. But for some people, energy, the way you feel, yeah, and others do it different way, or your senses, by touching, by visualizing, by feeling, and these are the few senses that you can make use at times and see which is your strongest, which is your holding the strength for you. Go into that and see how you feel. They always tell you the story. They already kind of tell you that whether is this something that you're doing consciously, is there a like or dislike, or is there love or hatred, or is it a jealousy, or you are kind of a secret longing that you have. It tells you. You cannot hide it, But what humans does, that is a complete human nature, is that they completely put a big partition towards it. I don't want to see that. I just want to keep pretending I don't know that. All I'm asking is remove that partition completely, unfold it, and see what is the feeling right in front. And sometimes it's very clear, crystal clear, for you to make a decision and then move away from it and make the decision. And for some people, they do say that, I don't want to enter, but before I enter the space, I feel it in my stomach.
Sure. Yeah.
How many times we have heard of that expression? Or I feel it in my throat, in my tummy, wherever the strong pull of holding, they feel the discomfort. Understand, listen to your body. Your physical body is in communication with your vital and your spiritual body. Listen to it, understand it, Then try to remove yourself from the discomfort. Don't keep doing something repeatedly, even though you know it's not helping you. I know it's going to be difficult for you to explain to others what's happening to you and why you're doing this. Sometimes you don't owe explanation to everything you do. You don't. Stop that habit as well. Sometimes you just have to do it, pull yourself out. And when you go back, they're going to be normal. They will just think this is one of the videos, the videos, it's always like that. She goes away suddenly and then she comes back, be it doesn't matter. It's okay. You have to look after yourself. And I will always say your big self with the big capital S. All right. So that is the clear spirit to that. All right. So I'll leave it with you today. And I know there's going to be a lot of questions in base of that. That's the reason I open up this topic, because I know this topic can keep going, because there's a lot of information in here, especially when it comes to the will. Maybe in the next one, I can share a bit more and you might have more questions to that, Daniel.
Oh yeah, that's where my eye was being drawn. So it's probably exactly what you're picking up. Wonderful. Well, thank you, Nirmala, as always. And to those of you listening, welcome to this community of spiritual beings, all looking to amplify their human experience. We're grateful for you for listening. And we just want to remind you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, to click the bell for notifications. And be sure to share this with all of your friends. Until next time, have a wonderful day.
Thank you.